I'm Joey.
I'm Carleen.
And I'm Pete.
And welcome to Triple the Nonsense.
What's
And
we're
it's triple
back.
again.
It's quadruple today.
It's quadruple. I don't know numbers anymore.
And we're back, and we are finally getting to finish our arc series that we've been so patiently waiting to complete. But
6 months later.
But before we start on that and introducing our guest, fellas, how are you?
Pete's here.
I'm here. I'm present. I have a week left of school, so I'm optimistic.
That's a good place to be.
I
have a week. I have a week and a half left of school. I've had a horrible morning, but happy to be here.
I'm just living that summer vacation life, so I've been pretty good.
Whatever.
Well, guys, it is our pleasure that we have Mr. Daniel Browning here. He is a choreographer, hip hop dancer, and CEO of his dance company, Dance to Inspire. A little background before we get Daniel to chat. I actually stumbled upon Daniel back in summer of 2020 on TikTok. That's, again, how we've all collectively met. And, you know, seeing him dance and, you know, being in his lives have been really inspiring and encouraging to everybody that's kind of come into his lives. So we are thrilled to have Daniel here and chat all things dance and Dance to Inspire. So welcome, Daniel, to the podcast.
Good to be here. And that was such a nice intro. I mean, I appreciate that. You're so kind.
She's the queen of the people.
This is
Queen
true.
of the people, queen for the people, all the things.
Here we go.
Yes.
So, Daniel, why don't you kind of talk to us about, you know, what got you started in dancing and kind of what led you to Dance to Inspire?
Sure. So I actually grew up an athlete. I played sports really my whole life. And there just became a transition, I think, in my life when, you know, sometimes we hit a wall, whether we're ready or not. And it's like, all right, it's time to move on to something new. And that moment happened to me when I was in college. I actually played basketball in college, and it just kind of hit that moment where it was, you know, time to move forward. I don't think I was technically ready, but I think at that moment it was time to move on. And it started with a phone call from my cousin who owned a dance studio. She asked me to come in and work with the kids, and really the rest is history. I just fell in love with working with kids. I knew I always wanted to be a coach. I didn't realize that my dream to coach 10 would turn into a dream to coach thousands in just a different sport in reality. And so that's why I always push people and encourage people to, you know, to chase, you know, the big dreams, because sometimes we settle for what we think we can just barely do. In reality, we can do a lot more than that. And that's kind of what this story has spawned into. And so all of that to say, I ended up stumbling upon this organization that trains a lot of actors and dancers to, you know, get ready for the industry. And that's where I ended up. And I ended up discovering this young kid who was like 9 years old at the time. And he had been bullied so bad. He didn't know how to show his dance when we were trying to rehearse because of the fear of being judged. And he just was so bashful. And I just took him under my wing, and I learned his whole story and how he was bullied at school at that young of an age. And he was ready to give up on his own life at that young of an age. And to see what dance did for him, I mean, it completely changed his life around. He's, you know, now technically graduating high school, and he's going to a dance program in New York City. He's been in music videos. He's done acting stuff. He was on a big show recently on TV. It changed his life. And to see that done with one kid, I thought, why can't we do that with more? And so Dance to Inspire was born. And so I developed the company to reach more kids like him, and to show these kids that you are capable of more, and you can get through whatever it is that you're getting through. And what I found is beyond Dance to Inspire through social media, that struggle has no age limit. That struggle surpasses a 9-year-old kid. And so that's what it's kind of turned into, is working to inspire and hopefully motivate people to realize that they can make it as far as they want to make it.
I always loved the idea, even when you started talking about dance to inspire, when I first, joined your lives and got to know you more, it's bigger than what people really think it is. And that's what I love about it, because it doesn't just go from like the young kid, it goes beyond that, adulthood and all that. So that's what I, really like about it. And hearing that story, it reaches more people than just the kids. So with that said, we took to Instagram, TikTok, to get some questions for you. And
Oh yeah.
and shout out to Janae and Santi. They have been the two biggest people who sent in questions.
Are we surprised?
No. Some of them are very, I think, in depth, and I wouldn't have even thought to ask. So Daniel, you might be like, that's a really good question. We didn't think of it. I didn't look at these questions before this morning. So with Dance to Inspire, you kind of travel all around the Southeast.
Right.
So one of the questions was, how do you handle constant travel with a family?
That's a good question, and one that I get asked very frequently, actually. It starts with a supportive family. It starts with, the family supporting what I do and understanding what I do. I think in the very beginning, my mom and dad would actually laugh about this, but they were used to traveling for sports and yelling at referees, and then I took off on this art path, if you will, in the dance world, and they were, I think, a little bit skeptical. It's like, hey, get a real job, but I think over time they kind of realized, like, hey, this is something that's lucrative, not just financially, but in many other ways. And so it starts with the support, and it starts with my son being able to see, his father chase his dream, and hopefully over time him doing the same thing. But that's kind of where it starts. I couldn't do what I do without, Katie being so supportive and even pushing me to chase that.
Have they ever traveled with you when you travel for work, or is it typically you on the road and then they stay home?
Another great question. So Katie, I have invited her many times, but with her occupation as a massage therapist, she typically works on weekends sometimes, and she only just recently was able to adjust her schedule to have weekends free. I did take her up to Morehead City off the coast of North Carolina for a big trip. It was a big convention I taught at, so she did get to come up with me on that and to see that. But anything local, she may come to and help out. We had our big Dance to Inspire conventions, and she was the backbone of that, getting everything organized and stuff like that. But out of town stuff, they usually don't get to come with me. I wouldn't take little man just because he's not of the age where I can just kind of let him be free. He's so
right, yeah,
mischievous, and he'll get into anything and everything. So, but eventually, when he gets older, I'm sure, if I'm still doing it, we'll get him out there, and we'll travel together.
Yeah. Another follow-up question. I really want a massage. Can Katie sign me up?
100%.
Great, cool.
She's absolutely, she's the reason I'm still doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to move.
That's fair.
So for as long as we could remember, dance was typically like a girl's sport. So another question that came about was, do you think dance is a good outlet for young men, since it has been primarily female-based?
That is a very in-depth question, and it's a question that I think is addressed almost every day, people just don't hear about it. It doesn't make national news. But going back to that 9-year-old kid, you know, that's something that boys, men, that's something that we all deal with being in that world, is the threat of folks not quite understanding why a guy is doing something like that, moving like that. But in reality, you have NFL players, NBA players that are doing ballet classes, that are doing dance because of the benefit that it brings your body. You know, I joke around and say it keeps me young, but it's true. Scientifically, it does kind of keep you young physically. It keeps your body moving. It keeps your, you know, your balance in check. And that's why you see a lot of these professional athletes doing these dance classes, especially your offensive and defensive linemen, these guys that weigh, you know, 300-400 pounds, are huge. Well, they do these ballet classes because it helps, you know, with their balance. It keeps them light on their feet. So there's a lot of science behind it, but at the younger level, folks and kids, they don't understand that. They just think about what's cool, and a guy doing dance is not always cool. And I will tell you, I'll never forget, I was at a dance competition, and I usually MC a lot of these competitions, and they do titles and like Miss Dance, Mr. Dance, stuff like that. And they do it at every age level. Well, it's rare to see a guy be in the running for that. Well, we had one year, and they asked him a question: if you could have, you know, one wish, what would it be? And his answer was simply that men could be accepted, or boys could be accepted in the dance world. And that opened so many eyes and ears in that venue, to hear a little boy at that age be aware of that and say that out loud. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah, that's significant. I love that. I love that answer.
That hits so close to home for me, because fun fact, I did dance lessons from age 3 to 11. And then, so this must have been like what, 2004 was when I stopped, because one of the costumes, we had these like puffy blue camo pants, which I thought were dope. So I wore them to school, started getting relentlessly bullied. And they were like, the dance company was like, hey, you're doing really well. Do you want to be on the competitive dance team? And I was like, no, I'm getting bullied. I'm going to quit. So I stopped, which is horrible. But so like that entire story, I'm like, oh, I lived that. Yikes. Now I'm emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens so much more than you know. Now, let me make a note there too. So you actually did dance. So therefore, we should also be seeing more videos of you on social media dancing. Is that what we're saying?
Carlene already bothers me enough, but yes.
Well, now you got Daniel to be.
I've done a few of Daniel's dances. We created a dance, Carlene.
Yeah,
I dance on the internet.
The only reason why you had any of Daniel's is because we were trying to get Pete to do it.
True.
I did it.
Well, no, I've done other ones before outside of the podcast.
Dance is like riding a bicycle. Once you've done it, you don't
100%. 100%.
So besides dancing, you have been kind of a beacon of, you know, inspiration and encouragement. And Santi, who has also been, you know, with you for a while, she kind of, you know, asked this. So when you're at your lowest, how do you stay so positive?
Oh, so we're going that deep today.
Wow, Santi.
Wow. You know, there's so many ways that you can go about, you know, that answer. And I think that a lot of that is individualized. I think everybody kind of handles it differently. I think for me, when I get to those moments, I have to remind myself of how far I've gotten. You know, that's why I keep little things around my room. For those who don't know, I think it was 2018 or 17, I did Say Think You Can Dance. And, you know, I got to a point where I was like, okay, this is it. This is my big breakthrough. And then right before lives, I was let go. And when I was let go, I kind of was heartbroken and wondering, like, why did I come all the way out here? Why did I even spend, you know, whatever money or time? It was just wasted. And I think in life, a lot of times we feel that way. You know, I just wasted all this life. I just wasted all this time. You know, not worth it, you know, all this and that. But sometimes we have to just look up and realize where we are. And so in that moment, I lifted my head and I realized I'm in Times Square. And literally and metaphorically, dance had gotten me there, you know? And so when you think about those moments, that's what you have to think about, is like, take a second to realize I'm here. I've gotten to this point. It's worth something. And I always say, if you wake up in the next day, God's not done with you.
I love that. Also, I did not know you once, so you think you can dance. That's dope.
That's pretty cool.
You know, so that story was absolutely wild. It was a time when they changed the format a little bit, and they requested that everybody send in a video for the audition. And so I sent in the video, and I was actually I'm past the age limit. So like at that moment, I was at the age limit where this was it. This was my last year, last chance. And so I just submitted one. The producers called me back and said they really liked the video, talked back and forth. And then I got an invitation to come to New York to do the in-person part of the auditions. And part of me was like, I don't know that I can do this. I technically, it wasn't funded. So I had to figure out how to even pay to get up there for this. And I had a friend that called me and we talked. He's a former dancer as well. He's also a rapper out in Arizona. Imagine that, Carlene. But long story short, because I could drag it out forever, he won a contest. It was some chip contest in a grocery store. And he won, I think it was like $50,000. And they obviously were very blessed in that moment. They paid off a lot of stuff, but they were also very selfless people. And so I didn't know this. And I called him and just said, hey, I just want to pick your brain because I know that you went through this before I did. I've been accepted to this. I really feel like I should be here. I want to do this, but I don't know how to make it happen. I don't know if I should make it happen. And then he proceeded to say, there's a reason you called me. Everything happens for a reason. I have the money and I'm paying for you to go, and you're going, and we're going to do it. And I had no idea about any of this. And he told me this and I started crying.
Right.
That's
and
awesome.
So he helped fund the trip to go and to actually pursue that. And that was another reason why I felt so heavy when I didn't make it as far, because I felt like I let him down too. But sometimes, you know, those moments in life are used to help you realize that, you know, you belong, you're a part of this, but you don't necessarily need that route. You don't need that particular road to get to where you're going.
And also everything's a learning experience. Like I'm sure you gained so much from that trip and that experience that you still carry and like use in your everyday practice as well.
Oh, 100%. And something that sticks with me to this day from that trip is one of the guys that every single one of us see on TikTok every day, because he's like famous on TikTok as a dancer. His name is Reno. I actually went further than he did in the process. And to know that, and I grew up watching him and a lot of these guys, shout out to Dragon House in Atlanta, the dance crew. I grew up watching a lot of these guys and him being one of them. And to know that I went a step further than he did was a very big, obvious, you belong, but you don't necessarily need this.
Right.
So,
Also, like a nice.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about you know, you go around and you teach various ages from 6 to adults, I would assume. Another question that you know, they had was, what is your teaching style as far as teaching choreography to kids? And
so my teaching style is actually very different from my performance style. When I perform, when I do it solo, I have a very different style. I would argue that my style of performing is very difficult to put into teaching words, because a lot of it is just emotion and, you know, feel of the moment and type of things, and the way that my body moves. It's hard for someone else to make their body move in a certain way. So my teaching style is very different. I do try to pull a lot of elements from the hip hop culture, because I think that's important for anyone doing hip hop, that they show respect to the culture by understanding what type of movements exist there. There's a large conversation that happens in the dance community about what folks see on stage and see kids do, and they call it hip hop. And it's, unfortunately, it's twerking. And it's like, it's become sexualized on the dance stage. And I'm like, these are kids. Like this is not what hip hop is. And that's why hip hop has gotten such a bad rep with a lot of parents and families. So, but my teaching style is very much, you know, a lot of the elements. I always have to throw in something that's fun and relevant. So during the time when the whoa was a thing, whoa, a lot of people, you know, I would try to incorporate that because a lot of people knew that. And it's fun. So they might be learning something, you know, and learning is not always fun, but when you add a splash of something that you're used to, that you know, it kind of makes it a little more fun. And so I always try to sprinkle in some things that they're, you know, used to and know with things that they're learning to kind of make it a little bit more fun.
I think that makes you a really good coach. I do a lot of coaching too, because I used to play a lot of different things. And playing or performing is one skill. Being able to communicate how to do that is an entirely different skill. And that's why a lot of players and performers don't make good coaches, even if they like were awesome as players. You had to be able to communicate this. I think it's important to like be like, man, my performing style is drastically different than my teaching style, because it has to be. Otherwise, you're like, no, just watch what I do and do it. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question was, what would you consider your biggest accomplishment on or off the stage?
This podcast.
I was going to say that actually. This is just
I felt it. Yeah.
All my dreams have just finally come true.
You can retire now.
Yeah.
We're not paying you anything, but you can retire.
This is the real resume builder here.
It really is. So I'm going to have two parts to this. My first part is, I think the biggest accomplishment was meeting and marrying Katie. I think that's the first one, because without her, none of this exists. Without her support, I can't do the things that I do. And I speak from a place where I and this is no shame on this individual, but the last person that I dated before Katie was very opposite side of the spectrum. And I saw what that was like to not have that support, to be a little bit belittled, to have this like foot on you every day. And it just was not healthy. And to be able to find somebody like Katie, who is so supportive and pushes me and encourages me, that's huge. That's like the first step to being able to run after something that you love, is that support system. The next thing would be probably that So You Think You Can Dance moment. Being able to be, you know, on that stage at that moment, and then to walk away knowing that, you know, I was with the very people I grew up watching, that I kind of idolized and was inspired by, you know, realized, man, I belong in this world. I just may have a different purpose within this world. And I will add, the last little thing was going through this recent show that I just did was absolutely incredible. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had, just because the staff was incredible. So if anybody has not watched Dancing with Myself, go watch it on NBC, because the people were great. Like, it was, you may not see me technically, but I was there. I was backstage. I went through the entire process with everybody, met incredible people. I mean, it could not have been run any better.
Shout out to Liza Koshy.
I actually talked to her after after our shoot. We came outside and she was hanging around, and she just hung out and talked to us for a minute. She was super cool.
I saw your pictures. Yeah.
So these last three from the viewers or listeners are kind of, you know, little fun ones for you. Okay. So
right.
With being a dance teacher, have you ever critiqued dances in music videos or television shows?
Yes. I feel like I should tread cautiously on that one. Yes, I have seen, you know, music videos and even live performances. And as a dancer, as a choreographer, I'm just like, come on, guys, like, what are we doing? But I I think more importantly, something that just has kind of recently come up, I've seen those same music videos, dance videos end up being copied over to competition stages, and the studio owners and dance teachers don't know that the choreographer took it from. And because I watch so many of them and I can be critical of them, I notice and I'm like, what are we doing? You just copied an entire dance. But yes, I can be critical. Katie doesn't really like watching a lot of dance stuff with me because I pick it apart.
All right. So this one kind of just ties back into, so you know that Pete, Joey, and I are teachers.
What? Since when?
Okay, so this has two parts. What was your favorite subject in school? And if you had to choose one of us to be little man's teacher next year, who would it be and why?
Yikes.
Oh, wow. Why would you do that to me? That's
horrible.
That's not me coming up with it. You can thank Janae.
Of course.
That's just
That's
cruel.
That's entrapment.
So my favorite subject in school, does PE count?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah?
no, because
Why?
we knew that. Why?
Are you
Core
saying that PE is
subjects.
not a
I took 4
legitimate?
years
No.
of PE in high school.
Core
I
You
love
said
it.
that's not a
subjects.
legitimate subject?
It is a subject, but core subject, I think, is what she was talking about.
Define core. As an arts teacher, I'm about to get
Physical
real mad at
health
you.
is pretty important.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I opened a can.
Now,
Things
Carly's
Carly's
in
in
the
the
like
hot
fight?
seat.
math, science, social studies, those types of things.
You know, we're a STEAM country, so it's STEM, but A for the arts is technically a core
Correct.
subject now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to
So.
fight.
I'm also a little bitter because school today offers a lot more options on the art side, even public schools, than when I
True.
was in school.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of bitter. I swear everything good happens after I finish it. It's just like, Daniel's gone. Let's go ahead and implement this. I'm like, really?
No, it's because you just inspired them so much. Like, oh, we got to improve. Like,
Mhm.
There
That's
we
it.
go.
There you go.
That's it. I'm gonna run with that one.
yeah.
So
That's how I stay sane.
I'm gonna bend the rules a little bit. So it wasn't high school, but I will say my favorite subject was communications. And that was more so in college. And that was because I found my love for speaking and for being in front of people. And that's, I think, what helped kind of help me learn how to address feelings and how to address, the inspiration that I want to share with everybody in the ways that I do. So I would say probably that.
So that's kind of a segue. So we've finished the listener viewer questions, but I'm going to open it up now to what, Joey? I see that finger.
He didn't answer the second part of the question. Of the
Right.
three of us, which one would you like to teach your child?
Joey, I was gonna let it slide. Why did you have
I was
to?
going to bring it back with my questions.
Because I want my ego to be inflated. Pick me.
All right. You ready for this? I have a great answer for this.
You cannot pick all three.
Hear me out. I would like for Little Man to be influenced by each of you because of each of you's personality and individuality. I would love for each of that to be a part of him.
Explain.
Do
Good job,
band.
Switzerland.
Explain that, Daniel.
Well, I mean, Carlene, your passion and your drive to defy the odds every day and how you kind of bestow that on your kids is something that I would love for him to experience. And then Joey, I feel the arts ooze out of you and I feel that passion for that. And I would love for that passion to be instilled, in him. And then I get coach's vibe, so I definitely, Pete, I think that's the other side is that I think that would be a great asset to have is that coach's spirit be instilled in him as well. So that's kind of where that thought came from.
Fair enough.
I'll take it. I ooze.
So we mentioned at the top of the episode that, you know, the three of us have met Daniel through TikTok. And Daniel, I kind of want you to talk about, you know, what made you start TikTok? When did you start TikTok? Kind of go through your TikTok journey. Because when I stumbled upon you back in 2020, you were at like 40K followers. And now you're at 200,000 followers on the platform. So kind of talk us through your TikTok journey and kind of what made you start on the platform.
Sure. So I think it was right before the COVID stuff. I don't even feel like I should mention that anymore. So
I'm tired of that word.
Right. So the year before that, I was at home. It was in December. It was around Christmas. I always went home for Christmas. And so we were there. And I was friends with, a shout out to Maceo. I was friends with Mace, and we had kind of talked about doing video stuff. And I had a friend of mine from Atlanta, Bam the dancer, also with Dragon House, but I, worked with him. I had him come teach at my conventions and stuff. He reached out and he said, listen, as a friend and as a fellow dancer, now's the time. You need to get on this platform and you need to do it. And I had thought about it. And I think before this moment, I had periodically threw something out there. I had no idea anything about an algorithm. I had no idea anything about the platform really in general. I just was like, hey, here's a platform, get some views, whatever. And he made that statement and he said, this is the time, do it now and get on it. And I'm one of those guys that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all the way. I got to commit myself to it. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it for a year solid at least. And we'll see where we're at the end of that. So every day, at least for the first 3 months, every day I posted one video for the first 3 months. And it wasn't until I think it was the second week or maybe in the first week, because I know it was still when I was there, a video started going viral. And it was the Sea Walk, I think is what it was called. It was one of those dances that I did outside of a restaurant. And I said, wow, there's potential here. So I just kept it up and kept it up. And then a year later, I stopped to look at everything and I was sitting at 100,000 followers. And I was like, what? I was so blown away that this has actually happened. And I think at that point, my family also realized, whoa, he's doing something on social media. And then I started getting little gifts, a certain someone would paint some canvases and send them over. I started getting little tiny things here and there. People started sending me letters of their story. And I was like, okay, this is getting real. And so I just really kind of committed to it and made it kind of a job, and worked hard on it. And here we are 200,000 later and hopefully still growing. But it's been a wild journey to say that I have that platform to speak from now. And that's all I ever really wanted, was a platform to speak from. And, I'm grateful to be here and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask another one. And I think I would already know the answer, but I'm curious. If you weren't a dancer, so if dancing was off the table for you, what career would you have chosen for yourself after or before?
So ironically, this is a question that I kind of am facing every day at this point, because I know there will be a day when I can't dance anymore. So I have to kind of consider what could be when that happens. It's a tough one because I have so many interests. I love sports and I love watching sports and being a part of them and, and coaching. But I love speaking. I love traveling, to schools and being in front of people and, sharing my story and, being a part of that. So I would maybe say being a motivational speaker.
Because I think you already do that, whether you realize it or not, through your lives, through, the TikToks that you put out every now and then again. But I could see that.
And fun fact for you, I have like, I don't always talk about this, but I have extreme anxiety before I walk out on stage for anything, like a performance, where if I speak, whatever, I literally do. I get like this extreme anxiety, but I think a lot of it has to do, and I say this to all performers, kids, and everybody that ever grace a stage, it's your body saying that you care about what you're about to do. And I try to remind everybody that. I try to remind myself that, like when I get super anxious. But I think once I get on stage and I'm in my element and I'm flowing, all of it kind of starts to go away. But that first initial, like, I get super anxious and fidgety, and it's pretty wild. And then once I cross that threshold, it becomes fun.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Because, like, as a music educator and also a performer myself, same exact thing. And I always have kids like say, like, how do you get over performance anxiety? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I still haven't, because before, like, I go to conduct a concert or like play myself, same thing. But I almost word for word always tell kids, nerves mean you care. Like, that's your body being like, oh, I don't want to mess up because this is so important to me. So I'm like, you know what? Ride those nerves. Once you're on stage, you'll be fine. And they always are. But yeah, that's because I know very few people that are like, oh, I don't get nervous performing, because I don't trust them.
Right.
That's a
You're
lie.
I tell my kids, like, fear and all that, it's a mile high, it's a mile wide, and it's paper thin. And once you just like push through a little bit, you're like, oh, this is actually like, this is not bad. This is good.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that's good advice.
Absolutely. I always tell people, the moment you stop caring, the moment that you stop feeling anxiety, is probably time to walk away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. We got 2 more questions for you, Daniel, and then we're going to kind of do a little fun challenge for Pete and enjoy with your help.
Don't say challenge, call it a game. I love
game challenge, whatever you want to call it, it's going to happen. But earlier on, you mentioned, your Unleash convention. Is there any plans to bring that back anytime soon?
Oh, we're hoping to. I thought about doing it this year, and I'm one of those where, I listen to everything around me. I pray about things, and if I just don't feel it's right, then I don't push that. And this year, I never really felt like, let's go, let's do it again. So, I'm still contemplating it. I've had a lot of people ask me about it when I've gone to teach at some recent conventions. I've had a lot of dance teachers ask about it. So we'll see. It's still kind of up in the air. I do feel like between me and Katie, we run a really good convention, and we've had a lot of really good feedback from it. So my issue is that when I do stuff, I'm super extra. Like I really am. Like, when I'm going to host anything, I go over the top. And to have to settle with a smaller venue with less things, it's hard for me to, I guess, be okay with that. Cause like most of our conventions were always in like, a Marriott convention room, or in Myrtle Beach, we had a convention center, like all these big venues and lighting and staging. And all of a sudden now the option is a local ballroom dance studio. And so I'm like, yeah, it's big. And I mean, financially it would be lucrative, but I'm just in my head about it. I'm like, but I want it to be extra. I want it to be all lit up and big stages and just, I don't know. That's just me though. So we'll see.
Because you take care of everything on your own. You don't have people now I say people, but I know you have Katie, but like outside people helping you. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's all you.
It's really all us. I have to call, our guest teachers. I have to get them, to commit to it. I've had some over the years, which makes it stressful, part of the hustle bustle, but I've had teachers that I've booked that I was super excited about, and like weeks before pulled out. And they had a great reason to. It's not like I can't argue with you if you're going on tour with Usher. Like I just can't.
Yeah.
Like,
That's fair. Yeah.
so, you know, and I had a Yaya with the red hair. She was on Step Up and So You Think You Can Dance. And I had her coming at a great price. She was really sweet. And then last minute, she's like, hey, World of Dance came calling and they want me to perform at, you know, this venue. And I'm like, I can't compete with that. Like,
Right.
So it happens. But yeah, I do a lot of that on my own and trying to book the venues, trying to gather all of the equipment together, the merch stuff that we're going to sell. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. The last year or two that we did it, I brought some of our graduating dancers on board and I had them help me. And I was hoping to get to a point where we had a true staff, but then that word that we would not name again happened. And
The panorama, yes.
that one, yeah. So
It just amazes me how much, you do within Dance to Inspire and you go through, you do, TikTok and Dance to Inspire, and you have another job on side of that. I just blows my mind with all that you do.
It's a lot.
You're pretty cool, I guess.
well, I appreciate it. And listen, it was not an easy journey to get to where I am now in terms of, my new job and stuff. Because to me, it's a dream job. So I finally got to a part where, I love what I do. It's a dream job and it crosses over now with what I do personally. And so I'm in a great place now with that. And sometimes you have to go through, the storm before you can get, to the greener grasses. So.
All right. Our last question before we get to the game. If you could give the listeners and viewers any encouragement or inspiration right now, what would it be?
That's a good one.
Make you think a little.
There's no wrong answers.
There's not, but in my mind, I'm like, I want to make sure I give the best one.
Right. Yeah.
So my mind always goes back to a quote that I've kind of always had for years is to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. And we all have been given a gift, whether you have found it yet or not know what it is yet. We all have been given a gift. And for us to give anything less than our best is doing it a disservice and is sacrificing the gift that we've been given, whether it be being an artist, a singer, a songwriter, a dancer, a teacher, whatever it is, do it to the best of your ability because that's what we're called to do. So I think that's where that comes from.
Solid advice. Yeah, you don't know if you can't do something unless you give it your best. Because maybe you can do it. You should have tried harder.
Yeah.
100%.
That kind of reminds me. Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that reminds me in a similar vein of what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, if you're gonna make a mistake, make it big.
Full speed.
It's better to try something and give it your all first. And if you fail, oh whatever, you gave it your all. If you play a loud honking wrong note, great, you were trying. The most important part is trying your best and exploring those things. And if you find out it's either not for you or you make a mistake, that's part of life and we grow and we move on from that. Because if everyone did everything perfect right away, that's boring. You wouldn't have any room to grow.
Yeah.
Right.
It really is. Yeah. And dance, I learned doing as a backup dancer with the choreographer that was working with us, gave us this advice, but he said, if you don't do the dance full out, then you're going to make the mistakes not full out. And it's going to surprise you when you get on stage. So in other words, if you're just casually walking through it, making mistakes, when it's time to do it full out, it's like having to relearn it all over again because you haven't done it full out with the mistakes. And so that really opened my eyes, not just for dance, but in life in general. Do everything full out because when you mess up, you're already doing it full out and it's just easier to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we've talked about dance a whole lot this episode. So I figured for Joey and Pete, we would play a fun game. So I'm going to have Daniel think of 4 to 5 different hip hop moves. And when he thinks of those moves, he's going to say the name. And what I'm going to need you and you two to do is to try to figure out what that move is just by the name only. And then Daniel.
I love this game.
Then Daniel is going to what?
I agree. I love this game. I'm currently sat like in a tiny corner. Like, do I have to now move, or is it something that like it's like just upper dance that I can like do sitting down? Because like
it's up to Daniel at what moves he does.
I think I can make it work from chest up.
Great, because had I been warned, I could have done a different setup. But like I'm catty cornered here.
No, because had I warned you two, it would have backfired on me. So no.
I love dancing. Are you kidding me?
But we all know how games with the three of us work. So
yeah,
they go perfectly and smoothly, and there's no chaos ever. Yeah.
So surprise, there's the game. But
I quit.
This is the first dance game I've ever won.
By default.
By default.
So
I love it.
All right. So Daniel, do you need some couple of seconds to think, or do you got your first one?
I got it. I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
I just got scared.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Stretch. Yeah.
Let's stretch it out. Stretch it out. Let's see.
Whoa.
Let's see the Millie Rock.
Oh, isn't that the one that's like the it's like the whatever or something, or like something like this, right? Is that not that? Oh gosh, you're so good.
No.
I'm hiding.
The Millie Rock.
That was my. Oh, is that this one?
Hey.
Okay, I knew it was something. Great, I win.
In my head, I was like, okay, Millie, like Millie Vanilli. What did Millie Vanilli do? I don't know.
See, I'm not that smart.
Well, I have to hyperanalyze things.
See, my brain went rock, and like this to me is like a rock because there is what that dance that's like dun, dun, something, but no, this, yeah. Okay, we did it. Great.
Very nice.
One for Joey.
That's
All
the
right.
game.
The next one, how about the whoa?
Oh,
Ooh.
Pete.
I got 1 point. That'll probably be my one and only.
Very nice. Okay. All right. So this is a style, so you can be creative in terms of how you do this. So it's not a one particular dance move, but it is a style. So tutting.
Come again?
Tutting.
How do you spell that?
Bless you.
Tutting.
See, I went King Tut. That's where my brain goes.
So fun fact, that's the history behind it. That's how it started, but that's not quite, it's almost there.
Is it this one?
Almost.
I'm just gonna keep doing this, even if it's wrong. This is my formal guess.
Or is it like, is it this?
Oh, is it that one? I agree with
It is
Pete.
not. I'll give you a clue. It
Okay.
requires making shapes.
Oh, is that like the
I know I don't need to steal it, but
No, that's voguing. Is it that
Voguing.
though?
You were kind of doing a little of both. You were kind of voguing, but also somewhat doing some tutting in that.
I don't know. I'm stressed.
if I'm like a ball and then like a.
Do you two give up?
Yeah,
Boop,
you're-
boop,
you're-
boop, boop. Oh, is that this stuff?
yes, that's it.
Ah!
Yay! Pete helped me get there when he like made a triangle. I was like, wait,
You guys
this
were
is a
both
thing
close.
people do.
We're a team. Figure it out.
That stuff, yeah. And then the yeah. Whenever I see that garbage. Why did I say garbage? It's not garbage.
Wow.
Whenever I see that,
Whoa. Pause. Pause.
I don't know why I said that.
Flag
I
on
see
the
that-
play.
No. Whenever I see that stuff, my brain thinks Avatar, Last Airbender, and Last Airbender for some reason. No idea why, but like the arm movements and like the, especially when it was like, yeah, I can't.
It is
do
very like
clearly.
summoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm garbage at it. Therefore, I projected.
That's funny. The last one. You said 4, right, Carly?
Yeah, 4 or 5, and then you.
Am I winning?
All right.
Yes.
This is another style. I will also say this is my specialty. Isolations.
So it's just like moving like one joint at a time.
Yeah. Like,
So the concept, yes, but I want to see you actually do it.
isn't that you do
I did
like
it. I
chest
moved
stuff
one
a
joint.
lot?
If I say boop, does it help?
That's how I teach stuff. I teach with sound effects, not always with numbers. So
And random names too.
So
I just panicked.
I would possibly give this to Pete because of the concept.
I forfeit. Yeah, it's fine.
Technically, it is correct moving one joint at a time. But when you ISO, you're isolating one
I said
body
chest.
move. So you
But
did.
you weren't isolating.
I don't know how. I'm sitting down.
You were naming body parts.
Whatever. Did I get a quarter point?
You just want to win.
Yeah. I'm competitive.
It would be embarrassing to lose to me in this competition.
You both won though. It's a tie. You both won.
Oh, we both gotten 2.
Yeah.
I think
Well, Daniel, actually,
I
pick
think we need a
one for a
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker.
we need a tiebreaker.
A tiebreaker. Oh
Yeah.
no.
This cannot stand. There has to be a tiebreaker.
Hmm. All
Or I'll
right, I got
Venmo
one.
you $1.
All right, you ready? You ready?
Sure.
Whacking.
Isn't that the one
I
where
don't
it's like
know
you do
what that
this and then
is.
it like moves stuff?
No.
No.
I love that you took that literal though.
Because it's like if you whack something and then it moves, that's the thing. I've seen that.
I've never
Um,
even heard of that one.
Whacking?
I will say I am not very good at this, but it's very similar in nature to voguing.
Is that this stuff?
That's voguing.
Oh, dang it.
Huh.
You do it with your legs?
No. But I will say, Joey, that you were somewhat close, even though it's not literally a whack. You were close.
I win.
Not that close.
It's similar to voguing, and then there's
I can't help you. I don't even know what that is.
Like instinctively, it's like you whack stuff. So like, maybe like I want to go like this, but I know that's not it.
just we're going to sprinkler at the shopping cart.
Sprinkler,
Yeah.
uh,
Do I have a lifeline?
No.
This is not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
now I'm thinking like whacking from like Whacking Day on The Simpsons, where like Homer had like the nunchucks and he's gonna like whack the snakes with that. So I'm like whoosh, like that. Is that remotely close?
Actually, kind of.
Oh no.
All right.
Actually, kind of.
Joey seems very upset that he's not getting this.
I'm just like, because he said it's similar to this, but also similar to this. So it's like, how do you combine those to make the thing that we're trying to get?
So
My
fun
brain
fact,
just broken.
Fun fact,
Harder.
this is the kind of stuff that I bring up before I ever teach a class. I teach this kind of stuff and just make sure like, hey, do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Because it's a lot of folks don't know what a lot of that is. So it's
Fortnite Dance. There you go.
watermelon.
Yeah.
Do you give up?
I have a hint again.
It involves your wrist.
This?
Close.
Like
I want to. I feel like I've seen you do it.
I'm just gonna keep doing this until they say yes.
I think I might could give that to Joey because of that last movement, but it's very much like the with wrist roll action, like it's a lot of wrist roll action. So they do a lot of like behind their head and stuff like that. It's pretty wild to see somebody actually doing it, and they do it so fast.
Do people do it where it's like their wrists are close to each other too? Because I've seen coming up stuff that's like behind. Okay.
Yes.
Great. I win.
You'll never see me do that. Holy
I accept.
Well, as Joey tries, Joey is the winner.
Yay!
Yay! I'm just not happy about that.
Wesley is stoked.
And Joey, for the win, I'm gonna
get
have
something.
Well, you get to pick the next song I do a TikTok dance to.
Oh,
you know it's gonna be
nice.
Harry Styles. Okay, great.
Obviously, yeah.
So,
hey Joey, call me. Let's plan this together.
oh no,
I'm done.
I knew that was gonna happen too. So,
Heck yeah.
all right. Well, that is it, fam. How do we feel, Pete and Joey, after your knowledge of dance?
I won. I
Moves?
feel great.
I'm proud of myself for knowing something. I'll call that a win for me. Not like a win-win, but like a metaphorical.
Oh, hold up.
It's hard to not know the woe.
Yeah, that's why I did it fast.
That's
So
fair.
this
I
is
like,
a
took
call-
my time and I was like, oh, I lost.
So actually, before we end this podcast, I'm doing a callback, and it so happens that Daniel is on here, because we need to have a certain somebody be taught how to Dougie.
Oh, that's true.
I know how to Doug. He's haven't had time, and like the heads. It's been like I will get it
So,
done.
but listen,
I promise.
we have somebody that can really teach you right now to do it. That way you have no excuse after this podcast to go and film it. Because Janae is also waiting on you.
I
So
know.
she can Dougie.
If I had to do it, you have to do it.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
So Pete, show Daniel your Dougie.
So it's just like
Oh.
left, right, left, right. Like that's the rhythm.
The step.
Yeah.
And boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's technically the rhythm, but there's a lot of shoulders in it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have a
Be ready
plan.
for your shoulders.
It's a play off of Joey's. So I have a plan. I just need to do it.
I will say a lot of dances, and this is kind of advice for everybody, a lot of dances, it just takes your body a little bit of time to get used to a rhythm. And once it connects, like you loosen up even more, and then you really start to hammer it and kind of make it your own. And that's when it becomes the dance itself.
Cool.
And then you can learn how to do this.
I still don't fully have that one, but
Arlene, that will be your dance. Your dance is to
Do this to Matilda by Harry Styles. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, jeez. So Daniel, where can everybody find you on social media?
So I have made it easy since I changed my name across the board. So it's just Daniel S. Browning on all of my social media platforms, essentially. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Just Daniel S. Browning. And you can follow me there.
And do you have social media for Dance to Inspire?
I do. I do have one on Instagram and Facebook, and have not done a very good job of keeping up with those, but hopefully we'll get back to doing that soon.
So,
And what's your social security number?
oh, jeez.
So, Carlene, do you remember this girl that battled me on TikTok, and she asked me those questions?
Yeah, the one that, people were feeding her, like
legitimately ask? Because that was a joke.
Yes, no, legit. Like she came on and she was like, "Would you like to battle?" And I said, "Sure." And I don't always battle; I rarely battle. But we battled, and she took a little notepad out. She goes, "So I have some questions for you." As we were battling, just started asking like random questions, and then got into, "So where do you live? What's your address? What's your social? What's your bank account number?" Like started asking like all of these questions. And somebody came over from her side and said, "This is like all a big joke." And I'm like, "But I hope no one actually gave their information out.
Well,
No,
what the problem is, a
also-
lot of fishers do that, like fraud investigator here. A lot of people who are like fishing do that because like a lot of times like they'll ask the questions that are like your security questions, like what street did you grow up on? Like that'll be a security question. So now they have that security question and can get to your account without having knowing the information. So yeah, it's
I gave all
Also-
fake answers anyways.
Yeah.
Well, and a bunch of us like popped over to that live, and we had noticed that, you know, people were like looking at your profile and being like, you're a choreographer. He lives in Evans. And like, it was just that was the weirdest battle ever. And
It was.
I couldn't believe you lasted as long as you did, because I would have been like, hey.
I will say, pretty gutsy for an identity thief to just straight up be like, hey, I'm an identity thief. Let me ask you these questions. Like,
people do that and get away with it. It's insane.
that's true.
So
Like when they call, be like, hello, we need a deposit because we are the police. Hello, please send us your.
If you don't do
bank
that, you're
account
getting
number."
arrested.
If you don't want to get arrested, wire us $500. Like people fall for that.
It's a good thing Daniel's smart.
Yes,
Try to be.
that was never in question.
did you just say try to be?
Yeah.
Well, that is the end of our arts art. Oh, Joey.
I
Yes.
do have an answer to a question ready. If you wanted to do that first, then the ending stuff.
Oh, sure.
Great.
So
Um, so whenever we post an episode of the podcast on Spotify, there's a question that you can answer and you could get a shout out on the podcast. And we love engagement. We love asking questions, all good things. So last week on the episode that it was just Carlene and I, we asked, how have you changed the most since you were younger? And good friend of the podcast, Dakota, she answered, my attitude, lol, it's gotten way worse, but I have also gotten better. But I've also gotten better about not always saying what's on my brain. Also, Brie Larson for life. And then sleepover, heart, watch it. Great. Because we did talk about Brie Larson last episode. So proof she listened to the whole thing. So thanks
know
for
what?
responding, Dakota. We love you. And help us convince Carlene to get a dog at 10K. Thank you.
Oh yeah, what kind of dog do you think would be a good fit for Carlene?
Great
She was
question.
super cute with that Shar-Pei yesterday.
She was.
Love Shar-Peis.
I have one that maybe none of y'all have said yet, because I think sounds like everyone's looking at a little dog for Carlene. And I actually feel like a golden retriever because it's one of the most loyal dogs in the world.
And they're so cute and their faces are so squishy.
Mhm.
And queens love gold.
oh, here we go.
Or you could also say, since she's a queen, she should get a corgi because that's like the royal
Yeah.
dog of choice.
She currently has a little stuffed corgi
That is true.
named Imagine Wagons.
I love it.
Thanks for
I
this
love it so
one.
much. Carly's
is
like, shut up.
awesome.
I asked you not to bring up the dog. How dare you?
You knew that was going to happen. Like that was.
I thought other things were going to occur with the three of you, and I'm glad it hadn't. So
We are laser focused. We
Have you
have
met
one
us?
mission in life.
My only mission is for everyone to have a dog. Daniel, do you have a dog?
I do actually. It is
A+.
a Beagle and Jack Russell mix, and I didn't know that this was actually a thing. They call them Jackabees,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
so we rescued it when it was a puppy.
I love
That's what
that.
Caitlin has.
Always rescue. Wesley's a rescue.
so
This is a
before,
rescue.
so before we end this podcast, because we've gone off 3 different tangents now. Daniel, are you traveling this summer?
I do have a few places lined up to teach at. I believe North Carolina, Tennessee, and South Carolina so far that I'll be going to teach. But I am also, and I said I would do this once all of this mess got over with, I am also potentially planning a TikTok meetup that we can try to make somewhat accessible to everybody so that we can do videos together, meet everybody, because I've been to quite a few meetups and it's near impossible to do videos with people because the environment is wild, dark, crazy, and it's just I think the whole purpose of the meetup is to not just meet people but to do videos with people that you want to collab with. And every time I've gone, you can't do them because of the
Right.
settings. So we're working on trying to come up with something like that where we can do that.
So we're all going to Daniel's house, and great.
I've done a couple meetups, and we made videos. I remember last summer I did a meetup on an island in the Detroit River, and there's that Kesha song that goes tick-tock on the clock, and there's a clock on a pole. And so I was like doing a tick-tock on the clock, and in the middle of TikTok, the DNR like drove by and were like, "Get off the clock." So my TikTok is like, I'm starting this like, oh, and I just get off and that's the whole TikTok. But still with the song. So yeah,
That's funny.
doing the videos is the fun part of the meetups.
Mm-hmm.
So
My
Well,
first
guys-
meetup is in 2 weeks.
oh yeah, because you're meeting Hillary, aren't you?
I'm gonna cry. Yes, I'm very excited.
Well, before we get off on any more tangents, make sure you guys follow Daniel on all of his social media. Follow the podcast at Triple the Nonsense on TikTok, Triple the Nonsense podcast on Instagram. Follow all of our personal social medias. We will have Daniel's information along with information about Dance to Inspire in the description of the unedited version of the podcast. And I think that's it, Sam.
Daniel, thank you for being on this
Yes.
episode. This was so fun.
Absolutely. It's a long time coming. Life happens and, it pushes things around, but I'm glad I could finally, get on here and make it happen. If there's one thing I can leave you guys with and everyone listening, it's only focus on your version of success. Don't compare yourself to anybody else because their level of success is not yours.
Ollie, put that on a t-shirt.
Nailed it.
Well-
Yes.
Well said.
We
And
haven't
on-
said that in so long.
No, we haven't. So on that note,
I'm Joey.
I'm Carlene,
And I'm Pete.
and this was Triple the Nonsense, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.